the latest episode of Gallifrey Pirate Radio, where we are continuing our adventures with Drew and his interviews at Long Island Who. And who do we have up this time around?
Well, for round two, we've got Emma Campbell-Jones and Terry Molloy. Now, boy, these two interviews. Of all the interviews, I think I'm least happy with Emma Campbell-Jones ones, and it's not her fault in any way, stretch, or form. We got a little bit of rowdy outside of the room right before we started filming. They moved the furniture from the first time I got a chance to interview. You'll notice that almost every time we film, there's only two rooms. Actually, no, there's three rooms. There's like the main suite where we filmed a few interviews, and then the rooms on either side. And during the time between the first interview I did with Daphne Ashbrook and this time with Emma Jones, the furniture got moved. They put us by the door so we could hear the voices a lot easier. And then about a very short time into the interview, a couple of folks came in to observe, which, I guess they were quiet enough. It just threw me off. I asked Miss Jones to introduce herself instead of introducing her, which is what a proper host should have done. And then I think I fuddled through some questions. I honestly haven't gone back and watched this one because I'm a little embarrassed by it. It's probably not that bad.
It happens. It can't be any worse than my faux pas with LeVar Burton.
Well,
where I did the same thing. I had him introduce himself. First time doing a big interview. It happens. And now I do all the introductions. It's things that you learn with
absolutely.
interviews.
Yeah. I don't think she was particularly offended by it, but I just wanted to do a good job. She is just charming. I got a chance to see her several times throughout the convention. She is a wonder with the fans, and I think because this is, wasn't her first time on the show. She had been in, oh boy, this is where my brain does not work. She was in The Wedding of River Song. She's one of the scientists with the eye patches and the lab coats on in the background.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's the right one. I believe that's the right one.
But going from that sort of background role to being
essentially a companion,
exactly,
and a pivotal companion, almost like Perry in the fact that it necessitated a regeneration. Yeah. No, and she seemed relatively humbled by the experience, and she's very personable, easy to open up to. Also, we have Terry Molloy, who played Davros, and he is just. It's just.
Which one? Because there's been multiple Davroses. Is he?
I want to say, as far as chronology is concerned, the second.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And if I'm wrong, I apologize. It's one of those things where I think I knew the information when I was interviewing, and we may have even talked about it, and I don't remember now. It's going to be one of those days.
Yeah.
And he was really personable. We even get a little bit of voice inflection in this one where he starts to work on the voice, and it's just a thrill. And we talked about, and you'll see in this, whether or not prosthetics and makeup limitations are a problem or an enhancement to creating a character like that. He's an actor. He understands his craft. He understands his role, not only the role that he needs to play, but his role within the universe of Doctor Who and fandom. I gotta say, with the exception of the interview and at the time I saw him to get a signature, I don't think I saw him again. I don't think our paths ever crossed the rest of the convention until the very last day, and that's a story for another time. There was a final panel where they said thank you to all their guests, and I will say for a very short period of time I found myself surrounded by every single guest from that convention for about a 1 minute period, and that was bliss, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So, yeah, I think that's about it for what I have for those, so we'll go ahead and...
So I had another question,
Oh, yes,
because I wasn't there. How do they have like the guests set up? I mean, for the signs and stuff like that, were they like in a giant room, and you just went up, got something signed, and left? How was that done?
Okay, well, frequently, when at the conventions I've been with you,
Yeah.
you'll have either a dedicated table
Yeah.
where they're always at,
Yeah.
or they'll have signings.
Yeah.
They had signings for most of the stars, but they usually put them in groups.
Okay.
So, for instance, Colin Baker and Nicola will be together.
Okay.
Terry Molloy was there in actually one of the dealer rooms.
Mhm.
I feel like I saw him at tables. He had some really cool pictures set up. But then there would be signings based off of a theme. So, for instance, like the '96 movie.
Yeah.
And those, depending on who it was, if it involved a doctor,
Yeah.
it was in one of the larger rooms
Mhm.
because the lines
Okay.
would
That's
be about
interesting how they do
100,
that.
200
Yeah.
people. So, and then they were just on the table. And there was not a single time where it wasn't a sign and go.
Yeah.
They sat at the top, they shook hands, they
Oh, that's
accepted
awesome.
gifts, they told stories. For the most part, because they had a photo booth that was available
Yeah.
for photos, the selfies were not encouraged.
Yeah.
And I think before the convention started and after the convention started, a couple of folks did some
Yeah.
stuff with some people.
So basically what you're saying is next year we need to have some Google Glasses and just record our entire experience firsthand. So when we're up there chatting with people or meeting people, we get it all for posterity and turn it into like a crazy mega movie episode of GPR.
Yeah, that's what I want to be. I want to be a glass hole. No. Well, we can see about that, but I think certainly if you're coming next year, I want to make sure that we have maybe a second camera so we can make sure that we're kind of omnipresent as far as the convention is concerned.
Well, thanks to the new job.
Yeah.
That is, a real possibility. Already started pricing some stuff out.
Good.
So yeah, no, it's exciting. I mean, we're definitely going to be taking this to sort of the next level with production and quality, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what, actually, since we have a moment.
Yeah.
There is a guest who is not on this list, who I did not get a chance to interview, but who I spent a lot of time with at this convention, and that is Dick Mills. The legendary Dick Mills, who helped to design all the sound effects for Doctor Who from the very beginning, and including the main theme song, so I had asked, I think when we first applied to do interviews, Andre said, okay, here's our guests, number them in the order that you want to do the interviews. I said, okay, both doctors.
Yeah.
Terrence Dicks.
Yeah.
Dick Mills. Like, this is a gentleman who I don't remember. I mean, I know he's come to Galley before, but it's one of those situations where it's not often. It's not a lot of conventions. And from what he had said, that a lot of people just don't pay attention to the non-actors. Actors, writers, for the most part, and then kind of everybody else. So I want to say it was morning Friday. I kind of went to the lobby. There's a lot of action going on in the lobbies throughout the entire convention. Because it is a hotel, and it's now Who is not going to be in the same hotel. And I think that any complaints I had about the convention were really based off the physical hotel. And I think, considering what they had to work with, the people who put together Long Island Who were miraculous. It was so amazing how well run this was. It seemed like they barely had to do any work at all, and I know they were busting their butts. So I went up to the lobby really early in the morning. There was Dick Mills. I don't remember how I introduced myself. I maybe asked a question or something along those lines. And in the course of 1 or 2 minutes, he's like, well, I'm going to go get some breakfast. Do you want to come with me? And I'm like, yes, Mr. Mills, I want to go and have breakfast with you. So I sat down. This is, by the way, after I bumped into Fraser Hines and asked him a question and didn't realize.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get to that.
Yeah. Okay. So I sat down and had breakfast with Dick Mills and I, and we sat down for an hour and a half and chatted. Terrence Dix came and sat down, not next to me, but there was no one else in any of the rows, so like 2 chairs over. Nicola Bryant, Wendy Padbury, Daphne Ashbrook, they were in the kind of the corner. I was, for the most part, the only non-guest in there, and the day hadn't even started, the convention hadn't even started, and if something had happened, if they basically said, oh my God, you've got to get home now, by the end of that day, I would have been like, okay, let's do it. So yeah, I got a chance to hang out with Dick Mills for a majority of the time. He was set up to do an interview too, so he actually came into the space, the suite, and while I was waiting for interviews, I'd sit down next to him, so, just sit and chat. So it was really nice. I got a chance to talk a lot with him and Dominic Glynn, also a musician, of course. And that was really nice. I have written to him several times, email-wise, and I haven't heard back from him. So, Dick, if you hear this one, I'm still waiting to talk more about aquarium display with you. He likes his aquariums.
Nice.
He's really a very knowledgeable man. He's written like I don't know how many books on this kind of stuff.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, and it wasn't all about Doctor Who, and it didn't feel like rehashed. Sometimes you watch 5 different interviews from 5 different conventions, you can see the same story being told. And of course, because these folks have been asked the same questions over and over again, why wouldn't you spend? But I felt like I was getting stories that he was really excited to tell. And it was really cool. It was really special, and that was...
it's a shame you don't have them recorded.
It really is a shame. I might have an audio. One of the things that we have to work on is I recorded the audio. You'll see in these videos. Unfortunately, I don't know. There's something about devil has the drive, hands means. I don't remember what the quote is. You see in the video, I'm usually with my 2 phones getting so I can get better audio. Well, one phone will send it like an email. The other phone hasn't activated yet. I have no idea how to get the audio off of those. So there may be 1 or 2 audios. There's certainly some video footage of some things that haven't been seen yet that was recorded on my phone that I need to get off of. But we'll work on that for another episode.
Awesome. So without further ado, here are his next 2 interviews.
So, okay, wonderful. Even though you can't see me, this is Gallifrey Pirate Radio. I am Drew Meyer. We are at Li Who, and we have a very special guest. Will you please introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Emma Campell-Jones.
Well, hello, Miss Emma Campell-Jones.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Very welcome.
Okay, so I'm just going to start off and say it. You were a part of an incredibly important aspect of the 50th anniversary for Who fans, especially those of us who came to Doctor Who in 1996 with the TV movie. So reestablishment of Paul as kind of to a wider audience, especially those who didn't have VHS tapes of the television tape show. So I'm kind of curious, prior to your involvement with that episode, were you a fan of Doctor Who?
I saw the odd episode before. I actually was in an episode called The Wedding of River Song about a year and a half beforehand, because I worked with Marcus, the producer, on a thing called Taggart, a Scottish show.
Yes, I know.
So quite a few of us actually from that season of Taggart ended up in that series of Doctor Who, which was really nice, because he's just lovely and great to get on with. And but yeah, when I got that part, it was, I think, originally written for a man, Dr. Kent, and I went in, and there were a few of us, very different casting, like man, women, just absolutely didn't really know what they wanted, but I just kind of went in there and gave it my best shot and got the part. And then when I got back, Tristan, my boyfriend, was a huge Doctor Who fan and said, right, you've got work to do, sit down and you've got to watch this. And he had David Tennant's episodes on box set, but I actually didn't, I think he didn't have Matt's ones, and we were out of the loop season for me to be able to catch up with any of Matt's stuff. So when I started on set with him that day, he was a complete stranger to me. I knew that he'd worked with my friend on stage, Andrew Garfield, in a thing called Burn Citizen Chat Room, and was amazing. So I'd heard that he was very good, but that's as much as I knew. So it was all very new working with him, and I have to say, I was really impressed with him and the way he works, his energy levels. He just squeezes the best out of every single possible shot, every moment. He just goes, let's try this. He's just full of ideas. And it was really inspiring to watch him work. And the way that he takes control of a situation without being overbearing or giving any of the actors notes. Like not, it's not like he took control in that way. He just went, let's try this. I think this might work. This might be quite exciting, quite fun if we do it like this. It was great. And I had such fun doing it as well.
Oh, I bet.
Apart from when I had to lie sort of face down in the sand for most of day 2.
Oh, sure, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was less good.
So apart from the lying down, face down in the sand part, did you have an idea of what you were getting into? I mean, to be shown the episodes is one thing, to watch as an audience member, but did they basically say, okay, you're going to do this, and you're going to be a part of this show's history forever? Did they kind of impress upon you that idea?
No. I knew that I was going to do something on a really popular TV show that I'd watched occasional snippets of here and there, because I'm rubbish at knowing when things are on telly.
Right.
I'm always behind with the things that I want to watch, but occasionally I would sort of turn things on and go, oh, they're in it, and how good is that? And it attracts really high quality actors to that show, and I was very excited to be embraced in part of the Doctor Who family.
Do you kind of the realization's kind of sunken in? Have you done a lot of conventions?
This is my third actual convention.
Okay.
I only started with Gallifrey 1 in February this year.
What do you think of that?
It was great, crazy. I mean, the costumes were fantastic. I love all that cosplay stuff.
Have you seen, because I know the
brilliant.
convention itself hasn't actually started technically at this point in time. During the interview, we still have a couple more hours, but the lobby of this hotel is now filled with cosplay actors. Have you got a chance to see that?
Well, I know we kind of whistled through quite quickly, but I
Sure.
did see a few people dressed up with Tom Baker and stuff.
Yeah,
Lots
so
of fun.
has anyone dressed as you yet?
Apparently there is someone here. There's a lovely girl who keeps tweeting me saying that she's is coming as Cass this year.
Oh,
so
that's
that
fantastic.
apparently there was one at Galley 1 as well, but I didn't see her. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing her Cass efforts.
Well, excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you during the convention. Thank you very much for being a part of our program, and thank you, audience, for joining us. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
All right. Welcome to Gallifrey Pirate Radio. I'm Drew, and I'm joined by Mr. Terry Molloy. Terry, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's really
Thank you.
okay. So, boy, when I was told that I got a chance to interview, I'm like, oh, okay, I got to have. I feel like really good original questions. What do you think he hasn't been asked? And I'm like, well, I really have absolutely no clue. So I asked Dick Mills. And I think Dick just wants to start trouble. So I'm not going to ask you any of the things
Really?
he...
Trouble? No,
Dick
can't
Mills.
possibly
Why?
believe that.
You can't, no. It's just like something about what it was like performing in an oversized skirt. No, kilt, I think is what he said. But of course, you're known for playing Davros both on the television program and on Big Finish.
Indeed, yeah.
This is pretty cool. So I'm going to ask what it was like as far as the transition from being on camera to being behind a microphone, and what that was like for you as an actor to kind of make that transition.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's not a big transition because I've always worked in audio. It's my one area. I've been in the longest running, well, still am in the longest running soap opera in the world, The Archers, on BBC Radio 4. I've been in that for 42 years.
Well, my goodness.
And the thing's been going for 63 years, so, I'm a mere newcomer. So yeah, the transition wasn't that great because the character is very much a vocal character.
Okay.
Even on telly, the character's got to be produced through the voice to get through the mask, really. So,
Sure.
So that transition into audio, where you don't have to wear the mask, which is a bliss. You can still create the character and paint those pictures, which, as they say on radio, the pictures are always better than they are on telly.
Oh yeah,
Because
but
they're
you got
all
up here. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, okay, so you've got masks. Is it much in the way of prosthetics, or is it just a simple mask that goes over? Because it must be very difficult to project through that. And do you find yourself as an actor to want to move more? Is that, or is the limitations of Davros's costume, does that help you get into the part? Or do you feel that kind of stops you from I don't know, projecting or doing what you would rather do with the character?
Very much, it very much informs the part.
Informs the part,
Absolutely.
right?
I was really only fully aware of it when I actually got to when I got the mask on.
Mm-hmm.
How much that informed Michael Wisher's playing with the voice.
Yes.
Because in those days, I mean, we're talking '83 when I first did it with Peter Davison. It's just one mask, and it's a foam latex mask, which they took a head mould, so it fitted me perfectly, you know. But it just basically wraps around your head and is attached down the back and sealed. And then they really make up your eyes and your mouth and black out your teeth and do all that sort of stuff and make you, you know, wash your mouth out with black food dye and things. But once you're in that thing, you're having to work really hard with your face underneath in order to get even the smallest semblance of movement under it through the mask to get some kind of feeling that it's actually not just a rigid piece. And that immediately begins to actually make the way Davros speaks, that staccato delivery begins to come through because you're already doing that. You then, you know, start to bring the pitch down a little, bring in some psychosis, you know, and Davros begins to appear, and the Doctor must be exterminated. It's as simple as that.
So, okay, so when you're behind the mic in Big Finish, do you still do that enunciation? Is there still that physicality to your acting, or do you find that you can kind of make it a little bit more fluid?
It's a mix and match, really. Yeah, there is a slightly more fluidity to it because obviously you're not having to deal with the mask, and they're creating a lot of the voice, you know, with the effects that I'm putting into it and what they're putting on top of that. So it's you know, it's a little easier in the studio, you know. And you've got more fluidity in the way you actually approach the character and your relationship with the Doctor, which you don't get on the telly, which is much more sort of head-to-head, you know, guns and whistles and explosions blazing. Whereas on audio, there's much more of that game that the two of them play with each other, which is much more sinister.
Well, I'm afraid our time is up, but
Okay.
thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.